got part two of the session about the future of performance marketing, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what's next as opposed to kind of how we got to where we are. First question is, how many were in the last session? So we've got about half of the folks who were in the last session. I'm going to do a quick introduction, the format of the panel, talk a little bit about the future with some statistics and some numbers that have come up from analysts, and then we're going to have discussion and questions from the audience. We're going to move to the questions a lot quicker, and we're definitely interested. We don't always agree on everything, although we tend to agree as a body more than we disagree in my experience. But if anybody's got any tough questions or just any things they want to cover, please start thinking about your questions now, because after we go through a couple quick ones on our own, we're going to take it to audience questions. So real quick, for those who weren't here, we look at the industry as there being merchants, kind of networks, affiliate management agencies, tools and technology providers, and of course publishers. There's some companies that are in multiple business models and some that are just pure to one or the other of these, but this is generally how the industry breaks out. We've got panel representation for most of these different types of companies. Larry is with Google, formerly Performix. He's been with the company for 5 years. He was formerly a developer and architect of e-commerce merchant websites, including Harley-Davidson and RollingStone.com. Scott's been in the industry since '99. He's founded MechMedia in 2004 and builds niche social shopping communities. He's a top publisher and recognized industry advocate. Jim's been in the industry over 7 years. He's responsible for the U.S. region affiliate marketing at Yahoo, and prior to that managed the large accounts at CJ. And myself, I founded Vertive in 2003. I'm active in the industry. We've built niche or vertical sites. We've got over 25 now, and we'll be launching a new, bigger site later this month. And I've been involved in the internet since '95. Quick questions about the audience. How many are affiliates or publishers? Just a handful. What about merchants or advertisers? So a few more. And networks, ad networks or affiliate networks? A couple. What about agencies or consultants? Oh, got a handful of those. And vendors or service providers of other kinds, technology providers? Got one there. Any industry analysts or press? It's almost a rhetorical question, because the major industry analyst firms don't cover this conference. How long people have been in the industry? How many have been in less than a year? Anyone? Got a few. 1 to 3 years. A few more, and 3 to 5. That looks like the most. And more than 5 years. Got a bunch of those as well. Okay. How many, in terms of the future, how many have thought about the future of our industry longer than 1 year out? Actually think where it might be going. So about a half a dozen. How about less than a year? How many have actually thought about, have a strategy for their affiliate program, but it's kind of less than a year? Kind of a handful there. And what about between 1 and 3 years? What about 3 to 5? You've got a solid plan for 3 to 5, and then over 4 years, 5 years. One of the interesting things, and the audience bears that out, is there's not necessarily a lot of thought beyond what's going to happen next quarter or next year in this industry. And part of it is it's a market that's hard to measure. It's very fragmented. Most of the publishers are small. They're 2 to 3 people. The large companies are usually in one category. And it's not always clear how to measure this market. Forrester wrote on a blog recently in December of '08 that for many marketers, affiliate marketers is actually a sales or distribution channel. However, it doesn't really get measured or tracked that way. There was a keynote at the Affiliate Summit in '05, and marketing Sherpa pegged the industry at $6.5 billion. IAB reports out referrals or lead gen, and it's very difficult to try to understand, does that lead gen include affiliate, or is that just lead gen? And then Jupiter put out a study that said affiliate marketing fees were 2.1, and when asked, it wasn't clear whether that included lead gen. So we've got a real challenge as an industry in terms of measuring the industry. And some would say, why worry, except that that's where marketing budgets are sometimes determined from. Jupiter's affiliate marketing forecast shows the industry growing at a rather slow rate compared to what some of the networks are even growing at, and getting to be about $3.3 billion in 2012. And that's the second fastest growing in terms of internet marketing, but still at a fairly slow rate. When you look at advertising spending, the IAB breaks out lead gen, but again, it's not necessarily clear what lead gen is. One of the problems that this results in is the average amount that's paid for affiliate sales is much less. According to a shop.org study, it was $12.24 for an average order in the affiliate channel versus a high of $84.21 in the online banner channel. We talked about that a little bit last session, but I just want to refresh on that. And that's a challenge for all of us. And one of the questions that leads to is a question that I'm going to actually, Larry brought it up in one of our calls, so I'm going to let him kind of start us off with that question. And like I said, we're going to then go to questions from the audience a bit sooner here. So if you've got questions, you can be ready. So Larry, you want to start us off?
Sure. So I'm always a little incredulous when I see numbers like this because it's really unclear how they came to these numbers. And presumably they surveyed a bunch of advertisers, and every advertiser is thinking about these things differently. In particular, how do you attribute a sale to a specific channel? And in the history of performance marketing and really online marketing, the measurability has been basically boiled down to whoever gets the last click gets the credit. And it is, it seems to me to be naive that that's the way to approach this, but we don't really have better ideas out there yet, or at least none have taken hold. So I'm curious from the group, is it the right rule? Do you feel like it's the fairest rule? And if not, what are some alternatives we should consider?
I'll start. I think this is becoming less fair. I think originally it was, you got to do something, and last in wins is a pretty reasonable thing to consider. But what's this talking about in the first place? So when there's multiple channels, so if a merchant has their own paid search channel and an affiliate channel and offline even, or direct, who gets credit for those marketing dollars? That's the broader picture. And then even within affiliate, in the affiliate channel, there's conflict as well, because there's more and more than one publisher in the mix when in any transaction. There's someone shopping, the phases of buying that people go through, that consumers go through. They're looking around, they're getting information, and they more and more as affiliate marketing becomes more prevalent, they're inevitably clicking on some affiliate link along the way. They go through and they're ready to buy, and they go, if they've already identified the merchant, then the person who taught them about that product, that affiliate might get the sale if they had that cookie set today, yesterday, last week. But more and more, as affiliates become better and better about getting out there and getting visible, they're getting in the click stream much later in the process. So people are always looking for a deal. So there's people who are looking for coupons. So when they're ready to buy, they're off looking for a coupon. So they'll go to one or more coupon sites looking for the best deal. They may click on 5 coupon affiliate links along the way, and finally there's also toolbars, loyalty programs, rebate programs, programs that allow consumers to contribute to charities. And these toolbars can remind the consumer at the very last second that they're shopping at a place where they can give part of that sale back to a charity, for example, and that's an affiliate link. And only one of these affiliates get the sale, get the commission. And whoever gets in last is the one who wins, but that's not necessarily where the value came from. So the problem is, how do you measure this? I think that before we can even have the discussion about who should get what and how much, should we split it? Should someone else get all of it? We need to be able to measure it and understand, who is involved in these sales. I don't think merchants generally have a good idea of how many, in any given sale, how many different channels did touch that. Traditionally, it's difficult to impossible to track that, but more and more, especially when we're talking about our little channel, the data is all there. So I would like to see more measurement, more transparency, more information available to merchants from the networks or internally with their own tracking systems so that they can take a look at this. And then once we understand that, then we can start to make some decisions.
It can be kind of a tough nut. I think the way we manage it, there's certainly, my view anyways, is there's certainly view for the value in the first click and the last click, and certainly perhaps for some clicks in between. And at Yahoo, we have kind of a different issue we need to deal with in that there are tons of house ads all over the network that are being run. And then there's also, for the very products that our affiliates are promoting. And then there's also what we call the trough, which is the left-hand nav on the homepage. And all those are viewed as so house ads is a channel, our SEM is a channel that the affiliate channel competes with, and the trough is a channel. So the way we've kind of dealt with it is we use CJ tracking, for example, as the decider which affiliate gets credit for any given action. But what we do is we then look at, so we got X number of orders through the affiliate channel. Our internal tracking says we netted, 85% of that. And then we just sort of adjust our rate card to compensate for that. So rather than doing some attribution via gateway tracking or something along those lines, we've decided that, just factoring the contribution of various clicks across the network and from affiliates is probably a more fair way to go. But in terms of how you handle attribution, specifically within the affiliate channel, from a first affiliate click to the last click, that's a real tough nut, and that's going to have to, I think, be a technology solution that the networks take on if that's going to happen.
Yeah,
so Steve, before you jump in, I
Yeah.
just want to follow up on that.
Uh-huh.
So that seems like a really sensible approach. You threw out 85%. I'm sure that's not what the actual number is, but does the number tend to be pretty consistent for you, or does it vary depending on what else is going on?
Yeah, we have, it's very consistent. It will vary if, for example, depending on seasonality, one house business or one business unit is getting a greater share of house ads. But on average, we use an average number, and it's pretty steady. It's pretty consistent.
So these
over time.
other channels don't trump an affiliate. So if somebody comes in and clicks on one of those ads after they've clicked on an affiliate ad, the affiliate still gets paid.
That's correct, because it's based on the CJ cookie. And we just our reported ROI for the channel and the revenue for the channel is just restated based on our own internal numbers.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and I think that Yahoo's done a very good job of trying to give affiliates their fair share, which is kind of how we look at the solution to the problem. I mean, in a perfect world, the affiliate who made the sale happen would get the commission, but you could get really long debates about, well, who made the sale? Is it the first? Is it the second? Is it the third? I think the most important place to start, since it's not always possible to track the who made the sale, is for merchants to do three things, and one is to make sure you're giving the channel proper credit. That's to me where it starts. Merchants that have 800 numbers all over their website and then say, well, nobody calls those websites, calls those 800 numbers, then why have them? Or in many ways, in cases, they're not tracking the sales from those 800 numbers. Not that you shouldn't have 800 numbers, but if you are, track it back to the channel and figure it into the amount that you pay the channel for the sale. And it's not just 800 numbers, it's other ads on the site. In a lot of companies' cases, if they were running house ads on the site, that would get the affiliate visitor out of the flow, and then the publisher would never get the commission for it. And that's a real challenge for publishers that are sending traffic that they actually paid for. So make sure that the tracking is really solid. And finally, I think the most important thing is to think about the action that the merchant wants and then reward appropriately. If what you want are visitors, then maybe you want to give the first click the commission. If it's new customers, perhaps you're dividing the commission between the last click and the one who brought you the original customer. However it ends up breaking out, it's important that the channel gets the full credit, in my opinion, and then it's also important that the tracking and the analysis goes on. If you don't know where your top affiliates are driving their traffic from, that's a really great place to start from an attribution question, because there's all the data in the world, you still got to go back and look at where is the traffic coming from those publishers, and is it safe traffic? Is it good traffic? Is it the kind of traffic we want to pay for? And I think a lot of times the solution is, we'll just do a last click, and I think a lot of companies are missing all of the other analysis that go along with that.
So before we go on, I was just curious in polling the merchants in the audience. How many merchants deduplicate affiliate transactions? Actually, let me erase that. How many approach it like Jim, where if you've got an affiliate sale, it's an affiliate sale, and you don't deduplicate against search or some other channel? Okay, and so everybody else, you're deduping against paid search and
how many
email?
Don't know what they're doing? Honestly, we won't go back and track back your programs. Any merchants that aren't really sure how the affiliate's getting paid? None?
That's
So
good.
How many are paying on the first click? Anyone? Anyone paying on the last click? Anyone have a more creative solution they've come up with that they want to share in terms of how they're paying their... Yeah? You want to go up to the mic? If you're willing to share your company, that helps set context for people as well.
We're not currently doing it at the current time, but we're currently in the process of developing it, where we're actually setting up a cookie, and no matter where they came from, whether it came from search, pay-per-click, or multiple affiliates, we're logging. We're trying to set up a reporting system that will actually show us how many have assisted in the sale. So at that point, we can make judgment as far as, is it something even we need to worry about at this point in time?
So is the idea to have, like, for any given transaction, you have kind of a click stream of like everybody or every channel that's touched
Yes.
touched that customer?
Yes. All our marketing efforts, no matter what channel we're using, if they drove the client or the buyer there at any given point, it'll be logged like in a cookie, and at the end of the sale, it'll pull that information and see how many assists were involved in that sale.
And you'll have multiple like affiliate IDs logged with that information as well?
Yeah, we'll have affiliate IDs as well as the network IDs. So that way we could see if multiple networks or if it was just multiple channels, whether it was an email campaign we had going on or a pay-per-click or search or whatever the case may be.
What time period are you going to use?
We're just going to use a full date stamp. As far as keeping the cookie on there,
Yeah.
we're going to use 90 days.
90 days. And you're going to roll this out soon?
We're hoping to be able to roll it out in the first quarter.
So you'll have to let us know how it goes. And then are you going to share, how are you going to communicate then to the affiliate channel how you're going to pay them the commission now?
Well, we haven't decided that just yet. We want to first gather the data and see if it's even something that is occurring right now.
So you're going to start by analyzing the data and then deciding whether or not to roll it out.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a commendable approach, because then you're letting the data help drive how you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. There's another example that I have. I don't think he's here, but I don't think he's in the audience, so I'll give the example for him. Thanks a lot. There's one merchant that is taking an approach to take a look at the value that the different types of publishers are adding to their program, and specifically in this case, for them, they don't see the typical coupon affiliate being a high value to them. Not that coupon affiliates are not valuable in general, but to them, they're not because they don't have coupons. So if a buyer comes to their site and is ready to buy something, kind of the typical thing is then the user goes off to find a coupon, then they come back through an affiliate link. And in their case, they identify that if in their own tracking, in their own internal tracking, so as Jim said, it's a technology solution and something that the networks could provide, but in this case, they do it themselves. And so they look at that click stream. If there was a non-coupon affiliate in the mix before the coupon affiliate got the kind of that last minute click in, that coupon affiliate, I think they give 2% instead of the 5% commission. So they'll give both affiliates credit for the sale in that case, but less to the affiliate that they attribute less value to in that case. If there's a coupon affiliate and there was none other in the mix, that person will get the full credit for the sale. So I think that's also a really interesting approach. It takes a lot of commitment and a lot of effort on the part of the merchant in that case, but I think that's the direction that we need to start going and looking in. But just to, like you're doing, just to understand in the first place what's going on is huge.
So in the case of when there's an assist, the total commission that he's paying is the same as if there was none, or is he's paying more?
It gives a little more in the case, yeah.
Yeah, that's we worked with a merchant once that tried something like that, and in doing so, they broke their tracking completely, and so the commissions went from X to pretty close to zero, and it was a great example of an interesting idea to try to reward affiliates based on the click order, and after a lot of prodding the network involved, it was determined that nobody was getting a commission. So clearly their implementation, in this particular case I won't name the merchant, didn't work. But it's a really interesting one to be careful of, because if you get too clever or too tricky, and in this particular merchant they did, the whole channel ended up getting punished for it. By punished, I mean it was virtually no commissions getting paid for, about 60 days while they sorted out the problem. Are there other merchants that want to share how they're doing it? Anyone or any publishers that want to take a side on, gosh, this is everybody should doing it this particular way? Yeah, if you can go up to the mic.
Hi everybody, Carlos Lopez from ValueTail.com. Well, we have been working with a proposal for our marketing manager, and it's taking into account the conversion process. I mean, 3 or 4 publishers can lead a client to a site, but who actually made the conversion? That can be measured in timing. Timing is everything here. I mean, if 3 or 4 publishers lead the client to the merchant site, and the client makes his purchase in, 30 days, what can you say? All of them could be involved in the buying decision. But what happens if on the last click, the client makes the purchase in 30 minutes? You cannot say it was the first, it was the second, because the client was in the mood for buying it. So the conversion is more easily, you can associate better to the last click in this particular case. I mean, the time should be taken into account when it's in the time frame of hours or minutes.
Well, yeah, that's the challenge, though. Is it realistic, though, to only reward an affiliate if the sale happens, at that precise moment? Some people have to, think about a purchase, or they come back to a site. I think the most important thing, in my perspective, for merchants is to, reward fairly and focus on tracking and reporting. And if you are going to do something like, give a share to each of the publishers involved in a transaction, make sure to communicate that, and make sure to really analyze the data to see whether or not that's the data supports doing something like that, and that it actually works. So.
And don't just use it as an excuse to cut commissions.
Right. We're going to continue to take questions from the audience. If people just want to go to the mic, we'll call on them it's just really a big room and it's hard enough to hear when people are at the mic. So if you've got a question, just go to the mic, and between each question, we'll either take a question or we'll wait to see what the question is. I want to ask the team here, though, as the industry grows and matures, who they think will lead the changes in the future. Is it going to be merchants? Is it going to be the affiliate networks, agencies, publishers, or is someone else going to lead that change? Larry, I'll put you on the hot seat and ask you first.
Well, I think Google's going to lead the change. I honestly hope that we do. But I don't think that there's going to be any single factor. There's obviously market factors that are going to drive a lot of necessary changes, particularly this year. I think, you saw the industry really grew up out of the dot-com bubble bursting, and so it should be interesting to see what happens to us as a result of this latest financial situation. In my experience, the most innovative of the three have been publishers, and they've been the ones who've really pushed networks and advertisers to change and to change their thinking and that sort of thing. And I think, partly because it's the biggest group, and they have the loudest voices in some cases, that it is, I think one of the beauties of affiliate marketing is it's a really grassroots channel, and there are a lot of people who spend a lot of time thinking and talking about it, and those people tend to be publishers. So if I had to put money on it, I'd say that we're going to see really, really interesting things coming out of publishers over the next few years, but I wouldn't count networks out either. No offense to advertisers in the room, but advertisers tend to be the least innovative, with the exceptions that we've heard. Partly I think that's due to affiliate being sort of a redheaded stepchild and not getting necessarily the technology resources required to make really interesting things happen. And that's a battle that advertisers should absolutely fight every day, and trying to get resources. And I know I'll try and build tools that make things easy for you to do that, but I think there are opportunities for advertisers to really distinguish themselves by doing things like what Scott mentioned just now, and so they could provide the biggest splash.
Yeah, I think that I agree with Larry that if history tells us anything, the affiliates have been the leaders of innovation in the channel. I mean, when you consider that affiliates were some of the earliest and are now indeed some of the most sophisticated search marketers out there, I think we'll continue to see. That's just a great example of affiliates seizing on a new distribution opportunity, and I think we'll see that type of thing continue to happen. I will disagree with you a little bit. I think merchants, I think there's going to be a lot more budget being shifted to the performance, to affiliate marketing performance channel in the future, as folks, especially in this economic climate where folks are wanting some more certainty around what they're spending. And as those budgets grow, merchants are going to be, I think they're going to be motivated to build tools that make their affiliates more productive so they can yield a bit more out of the channel. So that's sort of my take on that.
I mean, I would just respond by saying I do think that advertising budgets are growing. I'm not sure that the corresponding technology budgets are growing. In fact, I think they're probably shrinking. So it presents a challenge when you require technology to do some of these things.
How much technology should the merchant need, though? And how much can they rely on the networks to really provide the technology to make it kind of more plug and play, so that the merchants are really just about making decisions and process and analyzing their data?
Well, certainly networks can provide tools, but to do an analysis like this gentleman talked about, we just don't have the visibility to that data. We can provide you with the data that we have that will allow you to do that analysis, but we can't give you the rest of the data. It's really all about the data. I've seen a fair number of, data warehouse implementations, and they tend to go pretty poorly. They're really hard to do, and I think lots of companies are still struggling with how to get a handle on all of this data that we're creating for them. And then, even once you're able to store it in a sensible way, then, all right, now I've got to build some report that actually means something that I can then take and make a decision about how I do this in the future. So yes, networks can provide tools to make things easier. We can provide better access to the data that we do own. But there's so much other data and so many other requirements, particularly on the tracking side, like what you're doing on your site is, it's really dependent on your web development team. And if you don't have access to those resources, then you're limited in what you can do.
Scott, you want to add anything?
I could add a lot, but I want to hear his question. So I'll just say, yeah, clearly affiliates are the innovators, with inventing new models of promotion and such. I challenge the merchants to push the networks to be more innovative. I think we've seen a very stale industry, technology-wise. And I hope you do lead the way, Larry, and push the other networks to innovate as well, because there are, as we've talked about for the past 2 hours, there's lots of things that this industry needs tools-wise, not because we need creative, but we need to better understand, the value that these channels bring to the game, and really have a good understanding of things. So I'll leave it at that.
Did you have a question?
Well, if you have feature requests, write them down and leave them here when you're done. I'm not going to fill them all, but I'd like to hear about them.
Yeah, I want to know what your opinions were, or if you're seeing trends or things like that for affiliate marketing outside of the United States.
Sure.
Or England. I'm in China particularly, so I've got an Asia focus particularly, but do you guys see any, I don't know where it's at now or where you guys think it's going to go. I haven't heard anything about that. When I talk to the people in the meet and greet and the expo, everyone knows China's a big market, just no one has any solutions.
Yeah, so the question is the market outside of the United States. The gentleman's in China and wonders on our perspective. We really focus not quite all, but almost all of our efforts in the U.S., so I'll see if anyone wants to add anything on that.
Sure. I'm glad you brought the question up, because I meant to talk about it in the previous session, but because we were talking about what are going to be the sources of new growth for affiliate marketing, and I think international is one of those. This industry as we know it is very US-centric. There are actually affiliate networks in other countries. There are affiliates in other countries, and there are merchants who do affiliate marketing in other countries. By most estimates, I would say that there's probably an equivalent amount of spend on affiliate marketing outside of the US as there is inside the US. So there absolutely is opportunity. Traditional affiliate marketing is pretty dependent on being able to transact commerce online, so that limits some of the market potential. So China is not necessarily a great market for typical retail affiliate marketing, at least not on a CPA basis, on a revenue share basis, because people don't buy things online. But lead generation, if you're talking about affiliate marketing in a broader context, is absolutely an opportunity in China and other countries where people don't have credit cards. So yeah, I mean, Google has a very strong business internationally, but not in affiliate marketing, and that's one area that we're very interested in.
You guys want
As
to
far
add
as
anything?
promotion goes, yeah, I mean, it's so easy to focus on your own country, so we tend to do that. I was talking to somebody the other night from Canada, and we were asking her about her buying habits as a consumer. And it was fascinating to me because for her to buy something we were talking about shoes and like Zappos or shoes.com and whether or not she buys shoes online, and she doesn't because, first of all, it's not free shipping, so it costs, so she'll pay the price for shoes, but then she'll pay for the shipping, and then she has to pay provincial sales tax and all these taxes. So she ends up spending, on top of the price of the product, like $75 with shipping and taxes, and so she just doesn't buy online. So what came out of that discussion saying I'm going to block all of Canada in my Google AdWords. But so it's, you know, it's just really interesting to just look outside and think about the you know, other country opportunities.
Did you have a question?
Going back to the previous issue about who gets credit, we happen to see, we believe that the last one gets credit, but we track everything in-house, and we track along with let's say the channel, we track along the SKU that the person clicked on, and if that person bought that SKU that was clicked, we give that a higher score, so that one gets credit, even if it's not the last. So I think that in affiliate channel, if affiliates are deep linking, as you mentioned earlier, and they get to a SKU, then there's definitely they should get credit. So if you want to look at it this way.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to approach it. I think you know, I'd like to hear more ideas like that. It's an interesting problem, and I don't think there's a correct answer. But I think we've been, or I think, you know, networks and advertisers have been pretty complacent about just accepting this rule and as sort of, well, it's the best we can do, so that's how it's going to be.
The gentleman's point was that they give more credit to someone if it was clicked on the SKU, if I'm understanding it correctly, as opposed to the last click. If someone buys a SKU, then you give them the credit. Is that right?
The last click would be the one that would get the one that gets credit, unless if it's something if the person didn't bought that item. So and
Right.
found some.
And is that clearly spelled out then in your affiliate policy then?
No, I think it's just an idea. I'm not.
Oh, that's just an idea. That's just an idea. Well, that's.
We use that for shopping channels. So we do that. The marketing dollars for SKUs, we do that. But affiliate, there's not too many affiliates that deep links, and most of our affiliates would, you know, either do banners or other stuff. So it doesn't really apply so much.
Yeah, but it's just something you're thinking about. Yeah, I mean, that's similar to the one Scott brought up where, you know, they gave the final click an assist, if you will. And a process like that is, you know, is an interesting one, although, you know, it's unclear how many merchants could successfully implement something like that. And then if you do something like that, you've got to make sure to communicate it really well, or you'll get affiliates wondering, and especially if the sale ends up getting attributed to another channel. I think there's less arguing in this channel when the sale stays within the channel, as opposed to when, you know, a internal search or an 800 number gets credit for it. You think that's fair?
No, unless it's coming from toolbar software installed on browsers.
Yeah, that's true.
It just seems unfair, where essentially someone with a toolbar can get a lifetime cookie because they can always remind the user that they can give money to charity, you know, if they click on this.
So who should set the rules on that then? So is it the merchant? Is it the industry? Is it the advertisers?
I personally think it's got to be an advertiser by advertiser thing. I don't think there's a right answer, and everybody's going to have a different opinion based on the value they get from those that software and the other affiliates who may be getting their commissions degraded because of that software.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of what my point for merchants or advertisers is, to make sure you know what method your top affiliates especially are using, because then you can make that as an educated decision and decide, do you want to reward that type of a sale or not, and then adjust your policies and situation for that. Anyone? We have other questions? We have other questions of our own, but we'll take. Yeah.
So, to the future of affiliate marketing, do you foresee ad exchanges being a big part of that? It seems like publishers could definitely increase their revenue by having an exchange model, and I know a lot of the trends over the last 6 months have been going to exchanges. How do you guys see that playing into affiliate marketing?
So your question's about like ad exchanges or lead type exchanges?
Yeah, where they bring multiple ad networks together to maximize publisher revenue.
You know, I think similar to the example that we talked about with FCM, with affiliates being some of the first folks into SCM, I think as ad exchanges become more prevalent, I really think that'll be an opportunity for sophisticated affiliates to use some of the models perhaps they used in SCM arbitrage to kind of capitalize on some of the slack or inefficiencies in those marketplaces. So I fully expect that to happen depending on how well those exchanges are populated with opportunities, I would say.
I think there's clearly an opportunity for sites to aggregate the best offers in a given category and provide useful content in comparison. Getting into a complete exchange or a bidding model, I think that gets quite complicated in a lot of categories. In some lead gen categories, it might work. I don't think it works as well in service categories where you have non-commodity type product or service being exchanged. Yep, that's okay.
Yeah, I would just add that I think there is opportunity. I think there's opportunity on both sides of the exchange for affiliate publishers, both as buyers and as sellers. There's certainly going to be cheap inventory to buy for you to generate traffic to your sites, and it's something that's worth trying out. And it's also worth experimenting with giving over some inventory to these exchanges to see if they can monetize better than what you're already doing on your site. When Google was evaluating the affiliate business and deciding what to do with it, one of the things that we looked at was the overlap between our publisher network and AdSense. And there are a percentage of publishers in our network, a minority, that are using AdSense to monetize their sites. But the majority, and a large majority of publishers are not producing any meaningful revenue for AdSense, and that kind of shocked the AdSense people a little bit, that there was these publishers who weren't using AdSense for their sites. And the obvious question to the answer of why is, well, they make more money doing something other than AdSense, which was also shocking to them. But it just goes to show that for every site there's going to be a different model that works, and the beauty of the internet and the beauty of this of software is that you can play around and test and give over a percentage of your traffic to a certain ad exchange and see if it works, and if it doesn't, throw it out, try a new one, and if it does, do more of it.
I actually have the opposite question that your internal people have. If you have great quality traffic, why would you make money per click when you could make money on a CPA basis? I look at sites with AdSense, and some of it might be laziness, and some of it might be that perhaps the traffic isn't of the highest quality. Some AdSense traffic might be, but I'd actually ask the opposite of your folks. Why would anybody put AdSense ads on their site when they can get a much higher rate for that click from an action?
Because the rate might not be higher, effectively.
Right, based on the chart that we saw, right? The advertiser might be paying higher for CPC, but I think as the market matures more and advertisers start paying that spread of what advertisers are willing to pay for a customer through search or through AdSense or through banners comes closer together, I think it'll be more and more of the situation where if you've got a site, you're better off monetizing on an action basis.
Well, the answer to your question is probably, in most cases, because it's the easiest thing to do, right? People who aren't, looking for the easy way out or aren't taking the lazy approach to it and actually measure things, they're going to look and see what's the most. And those, I think, probably more often than not go to performance marketing to monetize.
How many publishers, again, do we have in here? Just Couple. How many of you have put AdSense on the same sites you have affiliate links? Anyone? And
Don't you, Steve?
no. Do you? Yeah, no. We have we've done some testing and find that we're going to make a lot more money on the click from a transaction. So why take the chance that click was going to be one that we got $50 on instead of 50 cents? We have a couple more questions that we could share internally. Are there other questions from the audience? We have an open mic.
Actually, I just have a follow-up, Larry. Have you guys thought about putting both the performance merchants as well as or advertisers as well as the AdSense together in the exchange?
Yes, we've thought about it. We've talked to many of our advertisers about trafficking their affiliate ads through the content network, and Google now actually lets you target a CPA. So rather than bidding a CPC for a campaign, you can say my CPA target is $25 or whatever, and then the bids will get automatically adjusted to try and get you to that CPA. So you can fake it a little bit, and we're definitely going to explore ways of getting more distribution for our advertisers using these new channels that are emerging.
Anyone want to? And other questions from the audience?
I'm curious to know if you guys think it's really going to be a one-size-fits-all kind of solution for the tracking issue. So I'm a publisher with multiple deal sites, and I would think that if I were a merchant, I would want to reward affiliates based on what I see as valuable to my company, and I think that would vary by the size of company. So if I'm Amazon or I'm Buy.com, I would think I would view it very differently as if I'm a very small mom-and-pop shop that's online. And I mean, if I'm unknown, if I'm not a ubiquitous household name, I would think that just getting someone to my site for the first time is worth something. Even if they don't buy for 2 weeks, that meant something. Whereas if I'm Amazon, I don't care who sent someone to my site 2 weeks ago if they didn't buy.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know your thoughts.
Yeah, great question. I got that question at a similar panel once before about, and I asked merchants what action they wanted from their publishers, and by and large, lots of them answered the question, I want new customers. I said, well, are you paying a different rate for affiliates or publishers that bring you new customers than you are for those that bring you a customer that already exists? And they said, well, no, it's the same, 8%, no matter what. And I said, well, if you really want new customers, you should figure out a way to reward the affiliates or publishers who bring you new customers. And I think many of the networks have the capability to allow some of that, but it's a great question, and it's one I think we've all touched on throughout the last two sessions. Is there's not one perfect way for every merchant to set up an affiliate program. It really depends on the merchant's goals and then what the data says.
And to add to that, I would say that as a publisher, I see a little bit of risk in advertising for a lesser known name. I know I get higher conversions with larger brands, but sometimes I think it can be profitable, and it's something I want to expose my customers to, just other names that are out there. And the thing is, though, I do assume some risk by using up valuable real estate on my site, throwing out names that people just haven't heard of yet. So as a publisher, I would feel like I would completely understand if merchants if there were, kind of 3 flavors of solutions based on the size of the merchant or how well known they were. I would totally understand that. So I don't know how you guys feel about it. I know that it really complicates the technology, because if you say, well, it's hard enough to get one solution, now you multiply that by 3, it's not an easy nut to crack, but I'm curious if you guys do think that the size issue could kind of at least be one way to segment it and then approach it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. You touched on what I think is the biggest roadblock to implementing solutions like this, is that it's complicated. And people are looking to get things set up as quickly as possible, as easy as possible. The merchants don't have the resources to put toward analyzing and implementing technical solutions like that. So it ends up being one size fits all. and that's unfortunate. But
Do you think that'll change though as the industry grows?
I hope so. I think that, like I've said, I think 37 times in the past 2 hours, that merchants need to get more engaged, more involved, and understand better their channel, and understand what the value is inside the affiliate channel, and which publishers are driving the most value, and don't get rid of the other ones necessarily, and although that might be a solution, but watch that and compensate people appropriately for that.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think the other thing that we've said a couple of times is to push the networks. If you want to do it a certain way as a merchant, and the networks don't support it, push them hard, and talk with your program, with your pocketbook, get your top affiliates on board to help push the merchants as well. The only way the industry is going to evolve and change is if those involved are much more demanding about it.
Or ask us really nicely.
Doesn't work.
Time for one last question, or I'll close with you guys. We'll from the end. Larry, any final thoughts or predictions or kind of closing remarks in terms of where you see the future heading?
Yeah, I think we didn't really touch on this very much, but I think social networks are attracting a huge amount of attention from consumers online. I don't think anybody's figured out how to, really get. I don't think very many people have figured out how to get value out of the channel. I think there's some advertisers that are doing some really interesting things online in social networks. The most interesting that I've seen recently is Comcast. If you go onto Twitter and you go to twitter.com/ComcastCares, they've got a customer support guy who just sits on Twitter all day waiting for people to complain about his company, and then he responds and asks if he can help. And it really takes people off guard, because they aren't really expecting people to sympathize. Yeah, I hate Comcast too, but he's really turned a lot of opinion about his company, and gained a lot of notoriety for himself also in the process. So I think that's an example of using social networks to build your brand and to acquire and new customers. And I think using the power of the people will be and something to see in the next few years. I think it's going to take a while to really figure it out, and in particular to figure out how to measure it. And then the other big thing I think that's out there is mobile, and are we going to see enough adoption and enough support from website producers and merchants that mobile becomes a real transactional channel, and not just an entertainment channel as it is right now, and a communications channel. It has the potential to be really, really big. In Japan, mobile commerce is huge. I've talked to affiliate networks there, and they say that it's 40-50% of their sales are coming on mobile devices, which is astounding to me. I've never really purchased anything on my phone, maybe one or two things. I'm trying to see if I can do that. So if any of you out in the audience have mobile sites that you want me to check out, come up and talk to me later, because I'm exploring. But I think that those are the two areas for me that are the biggest.
I'll just kind of add to what Larry said, and as things progress toward mobile and more and more into social media, and we all figure out how to successfully market to those, I think we need to, as an industry, pay close attention to the potential, the risk that we're going to, as marketers, ruin those platforms like email has been. It was a session yesterday, or Sunday actually, where someone was talking about mobile and touting 99% open rate on text messages, and they were joking that email is 5% or something like that. And I chuckled and thought, well, yeah, because spammers aren't on mobile yet, and as soon as I'm getting a bunch of irrelevant stuff, I'll stop opening my text messages as well. So I would implore everybody to, if you're benefiting from this traffic, understand where the traffic's coming from, understand what people are doing to promote you, and make sure that people aren't ruining the medium that we're all benefiting from.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot to add to that. I think that my perspective as an advertiser who have had to do quite a bit of internal arm twisting and selling and wrangling to really educate folks as to the value of the channel. And I think that once folks get that, especially senior folks within big organizations, all of a sudden it's a pretty tremendous value proposition. And I think as you know, we're going through this kind of tough economic times, I think that we're going to see a lot more attention being paid to the performance channel, specifically affiliate marketing. And, you know, I think that's an opportunity for us to, you know, grow up and not so much be the red-headed stepchild anymore.
Yeah, and I guess
Which would be great.
Yeah, my final thought is I think that the network that leads us in the future will be the one that balances the publisher's needs and the merchant needs and really creates a balance in terms of that they really are a partner to both the merchant and the publisher. And it's going to require that network to have the better tools, better tracking, and better reporting for their merchants primarily, because most publishers, or many publishers, have built their own tools. Focus on conversion and rewarding the publishers that add the most value. And then finally, one that I like to talk about is making sure that publishers know they're going to get paid. If the publishers know that the payment is safe in the future, they will gravitate and move more of their business to the network that they're sure they're going to get paid in a timely manner and what they're due. So with those thoughts, we will stick around up at the side. If anybody's got any other questions they want to one-on-one. If I can remind everybody to fill out their questionnaire, it helps Sean and Missy decide what to do in the future, and we would definitely like any feedback that people give. And we do get it. They do make a good job of compiling it all and sending it to us all. So thank you all very much, and have a great rest of the summit.